Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I will be playing along with the Forgeries on the 4th challenge, which is a challenge on the Counterfeit Kit Challenge blog. And the idea is that you forge your own embellishments, and by forging they mean take some inspiration from the monthly inspirational kit and make your own handmade embellishment. So my inspiration came from the stamp set this month, and also because the inspirational kit is curated by Kelly Perky, I am using my Kelly Creates watercolor paint from Kelly Perky, which are the reds and the yellows. And also I'm using a turquoise color, which is from Pink Fresh Studio. So I'm trying to create a watercolor background, and for this technique I don't usually use gesso. For some reason it doesn't tend to work for me, so I just put the paint straight on the cardstock. And because I quite like soft edges, I tend to spray the cardstock with water first and then apply the watercolor paint with the packaging technique. And just to soften the edges even further, I tend to spray some more water on the surface. And because I'm using quite a lot of water, it's important to make sure that the cardstock doesn't get oversaturated. So what I tend to do is use a heavyweight cardstock. So this one is 300 GSM in weight, and then make sure that the water doesn't stay too long on the surface. So I tend to dab it off fairly quickly, which of course means that sometimes the colors do come out a bit washed out because I'm not letting the colors sink into the paper, but that's okay with me. I quite like this effect. So originally I only wanted to use the yellow, pink and the turquoise colours, but I did think that something was missing when I looked at the overall effect. So in the end I brought out one of the pattern papers from my kit for inspiration, and I decided to add orange to the colours, which was a bit of a surprise. And then again, I'm just adding some more water to soften those edges and dabbing the water off straight away. And then I decided that some of the colours I already put on the cardstock were just a little bit too washed out, even for my liking. So I went back and added some more of the yellow and then a bit more of the turquoise. And it was about this point that I realized that the pink was just completely the wrong shade. It was crazy. It was practically neon, especially compare those pink roses on the pattern paper. So I decided to add a little bit of red watercolor paint on top of the pink just to change the overall tone. I hoped that this would work. I think it would have worked better if I left the paint on slightly longer, but I didn't want those edges to become too harsh. I really don't like that effect. So I dabbed the red off quite quickly, and I went ahead and dried my cardstock. So next in the process, I decided to use my stamps to create some stamped images. Although florals don't feature in the kit, florals is something I use on most of my layouts. So because this flower stamp was in my kit, I decided to utilize it, and I decided to heat emboss the stamped images just to give them a bit more definition and allow them to stand out a bit more. So first I used a clear embossing powder, which I thought would work quite well, but I didn't like the overall effect, so I decided to continue with the same ink pad, but instead of using clear embossing powder, I used gold. And I was a lot happier with the overall result, so I carried on stamping and embossing in gold. Once I had enough flower images stamped, I went on to create some embellishments with words and phrases on. So in the inspirational kit, phrases are very heavily featured. There are some die-cut pieces with phrases on, as well as quite a few phrases in the stamp set. So I thought this would be quite a good thing to duplicate. I chose my stamp sets I included in my kit based on this. The phrases were one of the inspirations. So here I'm just carrying on with stamping those phrases onto the watercolor background. And I'm trying to do this so that the stamped images are overlapping 2 or 3 different colors. And I decided not to heat emboss these images because they were quite small and the font's quite fine, some of them. So it just made sense to leave them as they are. So I did cut some of this process out because it's quite self-explanatory. And just a few words about what I did off camera. Once I was happy with the stamped images, I used my silhouette machine and my Pixar scan mat to cut around the images. I could have done it by hand, but I'm not very good at fussy cutting, and overall I was happier with the results. So unfortunately I didn't record this bit, but here are some close-ups of my finished forgeries. I hope you liked my process video, and thanks for watching, and keep checking back to the Counterfeit Kit Challenge blog throughout the month for new inspiration and new challenges. Bye now!